The day an ambulance had to beg permission to save my kid's life? That was the day I stopped being polite. I remember screaming at Rhonda Blackwood like my throat was on fire. My daughter is dying and you're worried about a parking violation, and I swear even now I can still hear the hollow thud of paramedics pounding on the hood of her white Lincoln Navigator while my 8-year-old Skylar was inside the house turning a shade of blue no father should ever see. 3:47 p.m. That number is burned into my brain. And while my kid was choking on her own breath, Rhonda stepped out of that SUV, checked her lipstick in the side mirror like she was heading to brunch, and told the EMTs they needed proper authorization to park in Willowbrook Estates. 9 minutes. 9 of the longest minutes of my life. She thought HOA rules mattered more than oxygen. She was wrong. And that was just the beginning. 6 months earlier, I had moved into Willowbrook Estates outside Phoenix, thinking it was going to be a fresh start. New house corner lot. Small workshop out back where I could run my emergency consulting business. I'd spent 12 years in Army logistics Afghanistan, mostly making sure the right gear reached the right people when lives were on the line. After the divorce, I figured a quiet suburban neighborhood would be good for Skylar. Stability, safety. My workshop smelled like diesel and metal polish, classic rock humming low, while I fabricated rescue brackets or tuned ham radios. Skylar called it Daddy's Robot Cave. I kept inhalers in every room, backup oxygen in the corner, emergency numbers taped by every phone. When your kid has severe asthma, you don't gamble. Enter Rhonda Blackwood. If entitlement had a fragrance, it would be whatever perfume she bathed in, expensive, suffocating floral enough to knock you unconscious. She showed up in heels sharp enough to puncture concrete, and a leather portfolio clutched to her chest like the Constitution. "Mr. Reeves," she'd say, lips tight, "we have a commercial activity violation." Commercial activity. Because I taught volunteer firefighters once a week. She fined me $150, then $300, then more. She parked on the corner at pickup time with binoculars like I was running a meth lab instead of emergency preparedness training, measured my driveway with a tape, photographed my equipment, checked my fence latch at midnight. Skylar would peek through the curtains and whisper, "Mean lady's back." I told her, "Some people like rules more than people, kiddo." I didn't realize how much that rule obsession would cost us. The first twist came when Rhonda slapped me with a noise violation supposedly signed by my neighbor Garrett. Problem was, Garrett had been in Vegas that weekend. His signature forged. That's when something old and familiar clicked in my brain. The same cold pattern recognition that used to kick in overseas when paperwork didn't match supply shipments. In Afghanistan, forged requisitions could get someone killed. In suburbia, it could get someone sued or arrested. I installed more cameras. Started documenting everything. Arizona HOA law became my bedtime reading. Turns out boards love power, but they hate transparency. Then she escalated. Filed a complaint with city code enforcement claiming I stored hazardous materials and ran an illegal operation. The inspector Chad walked into my workshop and recognized half the equipment from his own emergency response days. He flipped through my certifications, looked at the HOA letterhead. "Only one real signature here," he muttered. "Rest are photocopied." Rhonda wasn't just petty, she was sloppy. That afternoon, Elena Vasquez, Suite 73, walks her ancient chihuahua like it's made of porcelain, shuffled over and said, "That woman has been terrorizing us." Marcus Thompson, electrician night shift guy who just wanted sleep, nodded from his driveway. Rhonda had fined Elena over flowers, threatened liens on Marcus for parking his work van overnight. We weren't isolated incidents. We were a pattern, and patterns tell stories. The real twist landed in a manila envelope that Elena pulled from her tote bag like she was unveiling state secrets. She'd been dumpster diving, shredding tape, reassembling documents like a grandmother building a 1,000-piece puzzle. Inside were financial records. Payments to Pinnacle Protection Services, $47,000. Owned by Rhonda's brother-in-law. Triple billing. Phantom landscaping contracts. Insurance claims for vandalism that never happened. Then came the gut punch correspondence with Meridian Development Corporation. They wanted the land. All of it. Lower property values. Harass residents. Force sales. Acquire 80% of the neighborhood under market value. And Rhonda, she'd get a $75,000 consulting fee. We weren't nuisances. We were obstacles. That's when I called Rebecca Santos, attorney sharp as broken glass, specializes in HOA fraud. "Dalton," she said after reviewing the docs, "this is criminal. Federal level." And just like that, my workshop became mission control. Elena cataloged evidence like a retired schoolteacher grading finals. Marcus upgraded cameras and encrypted communication. I reached out to old contacts, including Jake Martinez, former unit buddy now flying medical evac helicopters. We filed with the Attorney General, then the FBI. Rhonda panicked. She hired private security actual guards to monitor suspicious activity. They interrogated Elena about her dog walks, followed Marcus home. Then she tried to cut my power at 2:17 a.m. Cameras caught her in black clothes with wire cutters at my meter. Backup generator kicked in instantly. Redundancy beats sabotage every time. The power company documented the tampering, another felony. Then she tried bribing Elena. $5,000 in cash for cooperation. Recorded. Then she hired a PI to photograph my daughter's school pickup. That was it. There's a line you don't cross. You don't mess with a veteran's kid. Monday morning, Rebecca texted 3 words. Federal charges filed. At 3:47 p.m., the same cursed timestamp from Skylar's ambulance day, black SUVs rolled into Willowbrook Estates. FBI. Agent Walsh knocked on Rhonda's door while she was setting up a community safety forum where she planned to accuse me of domestic terrorism. Banners, folding chairs, PowerPoint titled Protecting Willowbrook Estates. From what oxygen tanks? Neighbors gathered like it was a block party with federal badges. Rhonda opened the door, smiling. That smile disappeared the second she saw credentials. Rhonda Blackwood. You're under arrest for mail fraud, wire fraud, conspiracy to commit real estate fraud, and witness intimidation. The sound of handcuffs clicking shut. I won't lie, it felt like exhaling after holding my breath for months. Right then, Jake's helicopter roared overhead, coincidence in timing, but man, it was cinematic. Dust swirling, banners flying, kids pointing from the school bus windows. Skylar stepped off that bus, wide-eyed. Daddy, what's happening? Mean lady got caught, kiddo. She nodded like that made perfect sense. Because sometimes it does. Rhonda pled guilty to 14 federal charges, 18 months in prison, restitution over $170,000, developer under investigation. Elena became HOA president, unanimously elected. First act, eliminate every harassment policy. Second act, officially designate my workshop a community emergency resource center. Marcus became treasurer, finances tighter than a drum. Property values went up 23%. Turns out justice is good for real estate. But here's the part that matters most. Skylar's asthma episodes dropped by half. Stress had been triggering them. All that fear, security guards, harassment, the constant tension, it had been tightening her lungs as much as pollen ever could. You learn something when you go through a fight like that. Bullies rely on silence. They count on you being too tired, too scared, too isolated to push back. But systems, even corrupt ones, leave paper trails. And real power isn't in fines or fake authority. It's in documentation, community, and knowing when to call in backup. I didn't win because I was loud. I won because we were organized. Elena with her taped-together evidence. Marcus with his cameras. Rebecca with her legal precision. Jake in the sky. It wasn't revenge. It was accountability. Still, I think about that ambulance day sometimes. Those 9 minutes. What if I hadn't had connections? What if we hadn't dug deeper? How many neighborhoods are still stuck under someone like Rhonda, slowly getting squeezed until they just give up and move? So here's my question for you. Where's the line between enforcing rules and abusing power? If an HOA president blocked your kid's ambulance, would you have stayed calm or burned it all down? Drop your thoughts below. Tell me where you're watching from. And if you've ever gone toe-to-toe with someone who thought authority made them untouchable, I want to hear that story. Because sometimes the only way to protect your home is to fight like hell for it.
Cảm ơn các bạn đã xem video.